It is worth coming 1,500 miles from Boston to this city for a bean supper. And I want you to know that I come here not only because of the beans, but also because I want to see this state elect a distinguished governor, the man who just spoke, who I'm confident you will elect as the governor of this state.
In the 1962 Minnesota governor's race between Lieutenant Governor Karl Rolvaag and Governor Elmer Andersen, the usual stakes were raised just a little bit higher. It would be the first time in Minnesota history that the winner would hold a 4-year term. The election turned especially nasty very late in the campaign when Democrats charged that the governor sped up construction of Highway 35, pouring concrete at temperatures too cold for proper curing, in order to have a ribbon-cutting ceremony on a very important segment of Highway 35 right before the election. On Election Day, November 6, 1962, 60% of the eligible voters, or 1.3 million, cast votes in spite of a driving snowstorm in the northern part of the state. 40% of those votes were hand-cast ballots. The returns created a seesaw as they came in over the next few days. It was Friday before the all-important canoe vote from the Northwest Angle and Oak Island made it to the mainland. Initial official returns gave Rolvaag a 59-vote plurality. The state canvassing board met on November 26th and immediately made things worse by splitting 3 ways on a 5-member board on who won and how to proceed. The Supreme Court intervened, ordering the board to accept amended reports from the 10 Andersen counties. Rolvaag lost 124 votes with these amended returns. This court order made Andersen the winner by 141 votes.
I am aware, of course, that a recount will probably ensue, but I believe this will just confirm the result that has now been announced.
And on December 3rd, Rolvaag filed a notice of contest with the clerk of the district court in Freeborn County. This began an unbelievably complicated political, legal, and physical process. For all the gory details, see and read Recount by Ronald Stinnett and Charles Backstrom. Andersen's term extended until the recount was completed. He went about the day-to-day business of running the state and prepared for the legislative session, creating a budget and reappointing commissioners, much to the dismay of the DFL party's chair, George Farr. Chief Justice Oscar Knudsen resented an implication in the national press that since the majority of the Supreme Court appointees had been promoted by Andersen, they would rule in his favor. Knudsen directed both parties' recount managers into a room with instructions not to come out until they had named a mutually agreeable 3-judge panel to oversee the recount. The selection of judges Sidney Keener, J.H. Sylvester, and Leonard Keyes was the single most important key to carrying out a just and orderly process in this recount. That panel, in turn, created 100 recount teams of 3, a partisan for each side and an independent. First, both sides agreed that machine vote totals were correct and did not need to be recounted. Then 97,000 hand ballots were challenged. Screening reduced those numbers to 22,000, and finally, the 3-judge panel was presented with 3,851 ballots for a trial that began on February 25th. After 3 weeks of work to determine the voters' intent on ballots, the final result favored Rolvaag by 91 votes.
Well, gentlemen, I have just received the news from the court. I've not yet received all the detailed information, but it looks as though it's a great day here in room 30 in the basement of the Capitol.
On March 21st, 1963, the 3-judge panel issued an order to the Secretary of State, Joe Donovan, to issue a certificate of election to Rolvaag. That very same day, Andersen proudly signed the Taconite Amendment that he had fought for since becoming governor in 1960. A certificate of election was issued to Rolvaag on March 25th, and he was sworn in at noon that day. This was 139 days after he was in fact elected.
Well, I'm getting so disgusted the way things are going and how long the recount has taken that I just as soon have them put 2 more men in and start all over again.